Caldwell Bird, and I'm here today with Tom Claxton to talk to you about the Semper Fi Fund and America's Fund. These funds provide direct financial assistance and vital programming for combat wounded, critically ill, and catastrophically injured service members and their families during hospitalization and recovery. First, let Tom introduce himself, so go ahead.
I'm Tom Claxton. I'm a U.S. Marine. I served during the early part of the years when Marines were still green before we had the camouflage roof. From 1956 through 1962, I was between the Korean War and the Vietnam War, but I was in the Marine Corps during the Vietnam era. Actually, I will receive a medal on Veterans Day for a commemorative medal from the Vietnam era. So it's a pleasure to be able to do that and continue to be a Marine and serve this country. I love it, and I would go back again, but they don't take old folks, so you know how that goes. But another thing is that I currently do some radio shows in the Mobile area and have for over 37 years. I do a show called The Car Doctor, and that is on. We take call-in calls about car problems and things of that nature. And then also do a show that we're really here to talk about today and promote, and that's the Scuttlebutt Network, Voice of Veterans for Veterans. And then we have this show that we're able to promote veterans events and veterans benefits and things of that nature. And we're blessed to have Gardberg Kemmerly to be one of our fine sponsors and help us do that and promote that. And these ladies bring out, and Mr. Kemmerly bring out a lot of the new innovations that they have pertaining to vets and changes in the laws and all. So we're just blessed to be able to participate.
Now, I wanted to point out something that you are part of, or you're a representative with the P.L. Wilson Detachment Marine Corps League?
Yes, I am, and actually being nominated for Commandant this year, so that'll be good. I like to get to that podium and jerk a knot in a few people, so you know how that goes.
Well, and I know that you're not going to say this, but for our viewers, you probably know that he was also the Marine of the Year 2009, which I think is a pretty wonderful thing.
Well, they didn't have nobody else to give it to.
Okay, is that what it was? Now, we're here to talk today especially about the Semper Fi Fund and America's Fund, and it's really important, but tell us what got you interested in the Semper Fi Fund.
I have some friends that are here in the Mobile area, and one of the gentleman's son, his young son, was had gone into the Marine Corps and had gotten out of boot camp, and while he was home on leave, got into a serious car wreck. Somebody run him off the road, and they just about lost Michael. It was just really unbelievable how devastated he was in the TBI, being traumatic brain injury that he had. And in turn, they had to get him back into the hospitals, and the Marine Corps and the Veterans Association took over his medical assistance and his hospitalization, and they took him to Tampa, Florida. Well, his parents were here in Mobile, and he was in a hospital there for 2 years. Guys, can you believe that your kid's away from you for 2 years in the hospital and you think he's going to die? So in turn, they had to shut down their business and move down to Tampa. And in turn, the financial situation became very dire. And in turn, that's where they ran into the Semper Fi Fund, and the Semper Fi Fund stepped up and helped a lot with a grant for them to be able to be there and participate with their son through his medical charges and all he had. But he's back home now, and he's doing a great job, and we're just blessed to have him.
And a large part of that is because of the help the Semper Fi Fund gave them.
Sure.
And so let's talk about a little bit. So my understanding is that the Semper Fi Fund was started by some military spouses when Marines and sailors started coming back from Operation Iraqi Freedom in the spring of 2003. And that was really that first wave of wounded Marine and sailors. So how did they get involved? I mean,
it happened to be that the wives of the Marines and actually a lot of the Navy personnel, we have a lot of Navy that was assigned to FMF, Fleet Marine Force in Marine Corps, so therefore they were considered Marines. But these vets were coming back home with all these injuries and TBI, PTSD, and all of the other damages and body parts damage and things. It was unbelievable, and they weren't financially able as a family to support these vets. Now, our services took over the care of the vet themselves, but then all of the people, the families and the kids and all, they're getting secondary PTSD and from all of this, and it's a catastrophe. So the ladies all got together and formed this corporation, which being a nonprofit, 501c3. And I think the first year they were able to collect about $5 million and help with all the financial situations that incur due to these injuries.
$5 million in one year.
Wait, hey, if you want something done, get the women involved. Okay?
That's right. That's right. Thank you, Mr. Tom. I appreciate that. Now, so originally it was before the Marines and the sailors that were attached to the Marines, but it's morphed a little bit. Now they have the Americas Fund. So what is that, and how did it come about?
Well, the Americas Fund, everybody saw what these ladies were doing with this organization and the Semper Fi Fund. So in turn, they just kept, different veterans in the Army and Coast Guard and the Navy and all the other branches of services were looking for an outlet for the same care that we were getting for our Marines. So in turn, the ladies there said, well, okay, we think we can do this. We have enough volunteers. So they just initiated the new addition to the Semper Fi Fund and made it the Americans Fund. And they have done an unbelievable job. Now they're helping all veterans and families and veterans' families and kids. That's one of the most important parts, again, we need to talk about.
And so it's all service members that they help now.
All service members down through this fund.
So my understanding is that as of August of 2019, they provided about $205 million in assistance.
Can you believe that?
That's a lot of money.
Hey, here you go again. The ladies know how to do it, okay?
Now tell me about that. We've talked a little bit about the percentage of that $205 million. They're able to do it because they have a lot of volunteers, and there's a low percentage that goes to administration, right? Right.
They have very few. Here you go again. The ladies have got it organized. They're not heavy on the management side and on the upper echelon side. So we're actually seeing only about 6 to 7% coming out of that figure to support all of the people that are pushing this Semper Fi Fund and handling it on a day-to-day basis. So it's going to be very, very rare if you'll research this to see that any organizations or any charity will pull off less than 10%. This is unbelievable what they're doing. But it's mostly volunteers, Yep. Everybody's just stepping up and want to be part.
And because they're doing that, they help so many people, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Now, how some of the ways they help? What are some of their programs?
Well, some of the things that they do is they realize that the veterans are going to be taken care of in the hospital, but at the same time, the communications between the veterans and their families is really lax in that they don't have a lot you can do. I mean, you can only stand around a bed or be in a room for so long a time. So what they like to do is get the families out and get them out of the hospital, and they'll take them out into a surrounding. That's important to the vets too, so that they can get back into the system. They get used to being around people, because you stay in that hospital for a year and a half, or 2 years, then you're not you're scared to go back out in the public and be confronted with the public, because you don't want them looking at you, and you don't want to have to answer a lot of questions. So they in turn get them out and do family orientated programs so that they can get the veterans and the wives and the kids, and some occasions these are lady veterans, and then their husbands and kids are still involved though.
Okay, so that's that caregiver support and stuff they do.
Also, it's just awesome.
Now, one of the things that I really love is their kids camp that they do.
Ooh, that's awesome.
Now, the kids camp, my understanding, they help about 2 million or so American children that have had parents that are deployed,
about
right?
2 million American children that, they've had parents that have been deployed to Iraq or Afghanistan, and hundreds of thousands of them had a parent wounded in action. So here you go again. And then when you get that veteran wounded in action and they come home, so then the family becomes wounded, and it's not physically, and as far as arm or leg or something like that, but mentally. And that's the more challenging factor there.
Well, and something that I learned and when I was learning about the Semper Fi Fund is that so many of these children suffer from secondary PTSD, which has symptoms like hypervigilance and irritability, behavioral outbursts. And Semper Fi Fund doesn't think that these children should have to face these things on their own. So they actually have a kids camp set up, and they will sponsor and send the children to these kids camps so that they can be around other kids just like them and help to forge some bonds and help to increase their skills of being able to deal with these, not just as a child, but even as a future, right?
Well, that's very important to these kids that they get back out and they get back out in the stream of publicity and being able to be around all the other people. They get so consumed with all of the injuries and the deaths that they're confronted with now. We need to get that out of their head and get them back into civilization as well.
So we have the financial support, which you talked about with your friend, and then the caregiver support and retreats. They help with some housing and transportation and some adaptive equipment too.
Yep. It's necessary sometimes with the adaptive equipment because if the service will give them maybe a wheelchair or electric wheelchair or something of that nature, but their home might not be adaptable to that. Their home might have to have some rebuilding or some remodeling or something, maybe a ramp even put in. And things of this nature, maybe some electrical fittings or electrical sockets on the wall and all, bathrooms, and how they have to be adapted so that they can get in there with their wheelchairs and all. So, and most times, the only places they can go to get help with this and get a grant for the monies to do this with is the Semper Fi Fund or America's Fund.
Well, one more program that I know that you and I talked about because you've had some dealings with something. This is their visiting nurse program that they do.
Unbelievable! It is just unbelievable. But the Semper Fi Fund it's got the nursing program that they provide support to the service members and their veterans, and all 5 service branches, and it's that are deemed eligible by these fund guidelines, and which nationally have to have guidelines. They just can't donate to everything. But the nurse program provides emotional support and assistance in the development of coping skills. It identifies health and wellness needs, gaps in care, and barriers using self-care management model. They're just there. They're just there to help and do whatever's necessary. And by having these funds, they're able to help.
Well, so overall, you and I both agree the Semper Fi Fund, America's Fund, is a fantastic organization for the veterans.
Yes.
And we encourage anyone that if you're looking for an organization that's going to help veterans, that you definitely take a look at Semper Fi Fund, America's Fund. Donate your money. More importantly, donate your time to these veterans, because this is the thing that makes Semper Fi so great, is there's so many volunteers that give of their time, and it makes the whole organization work even better.
Hoorah!
All right, we want to thank you again for being here, Mr. Claxton. I appreciate all this information about Semper Fi Fund. It's definitely one that I'm going to be supporting, and I hope that you will too.
Sure, always have. Since I found out about it, but that's
right.
The thing, a lot of these organizations they don't spend a lot of money on publications and media publicity, like a lot of the thing companies do, or the corporations that supposed to be helping our vets and suck off 40-50% off of the top. I'm not for that.
Well, tell if you would, everyone, how they can hear you on the Scuttlebutt Radio if they want to hear about some more veterans issues.
Oh, my goodness. Scuttlebutt Network is the Voice of Veterans for Veterans. It's on 106.5 FM in Mobile, Alabama. We're also on the internet, and we have a podcast. It's FM Talk 106.5, and you can hear us all the time. I have about 200 tirades, and as you can tell from my voice and my attitude, I can do a tirade about something that I feel real serious about. And you can go to castbox.com and then search for Scuttlebutt Network and Tom's Tirades. You'll have a blast.
You will. They're very fun. And once again, I'm Jennifer Caldwell-Bird with Gardberg and Kemmerly, and I appreciate you spending your time with us today. And as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to give her a call to our office. It's 251-343-1111, or you can also reach us at our 1-800 number, which is 1-800-332-1529. You can always look on the internet at www.gardberglaw.com. Thank you.
If you need help, these people can help you.